Port Charles shaken, Ronnie Bard exposed as Drew Kane's shooter in devastating conspiracy. In a shocking turn of events that has left Port Charles reeling, Ronnie Bard, the seemingly innocent sister of the late Monica Quartermaine, has been revealed as the person who shot Congressman Drew Kane. But the nightmare doesn't end there. Sources close to the investigation suggest that Ronnie orchestrated an elaborate scheme from the very beginning, potentially including Monica's untimely death, all in pursuit of becoming Port Charles's most powerful woman. With Tracy Quartermaine closing in on the truth, she may find herself in mortal danger before she can expose Ronnie's sinister connections to a shadowy criminal organization. The Perfect Crime, a timeline of deception. When Ronnie Bard first arrived in Port Charles following Monica Quartermaine's death, she appeared to be nothing more than a grieving sister, unexpectedly inheriting the iconic Quartermaine mansion. The family, led by the formidable Tracy Quartermaine, was skeptical from the start. Tracy's instincts proved correct, though even she couldn't have imagined the depths of Ronnie's depravity. The shooting of Drew Kane on September 2 sent shockwaves through the community. Drew, who had made countless enemies through his blackmail schemes, manipulation of family members, and ruthless political ambitions, collapsed in his own home after being shot twice in the back. The list of suspects was extensive: Michael Corinthos, Curtis Ashford, Portia Robinson, and even members of Drew's own family all had motives. But investigators never considered the quiet newcomer who had been carefully positioning herself at the center of Port Charles society. "I trusted you," Tracy would later confront Ronnie, her voice trembling with rage and betrayal. "Monica trusted you. And you repaid that trust by orchestrating her death?" Ronnie's face remained cold, expressionless. Monica was in the way. Just like Drew. Just like anyone who doesn't understand that Port Charles needs new leadership. Monica's mysterious death, murder disguised as natural causes. The revelation that Monica Quartermaine's death may not have been from natural causes has devastated her family and friends. Dr. Monica Quartermaine, the beloved matriarch who had served General Hospital for decades, passed away under circumstances that initially appeared unremarkable for a woman of her age. However, emerging evidence suggests that Ronnie may have slowly poisoned her own sister over an extended period, using her medical knowledge to make the death appear natural. "The timing was too perfect," observed Jordan Ashford, who has been reviewing the case files. Ronnie appears just as Monica's health begins to decline, inherits everything, and immediately begins making moves to consolidate power. The pattern is undeniable. The poisoning theory gained traction when hospital records showed unusual symptoms in Monica's final weeks, symptoms consistent with certain undetectable toxins that mimic natural organ failure. Ronnie, who had access to Monica's food, medications, and daily routine, would have had ample opportunity to administer such substances. When confronted, Ned Quartermaine broke down. "She killed Monica. Our Monica. The woman who held this family together through decades of chaos. She killed her own sister for money and power." Olivia Quartermaine added tearfully, "How could anyone be so cold? Monica welcomed her. She trusted her. We all did." The shooting, a calculated power play. Drew Kane's shooting was not a crime of passion or revenge, it was a calculated business decision. Sources reveal that Ronnie viewed Drew as both a threat and an opportunity. While she initially cultivated a relationship with the congressman, even agreeing to sell him the Quartermaine mansion, Ronnie ultimately determined that Drew's ambitions conflicted with her own plans for dominance in Port Charles. "You were useful, Congressman," Ronnie allegedly told Drew in a confrontation before the shooting. "But you're too unstable. Too many enemies. Too much chaos. I need someone I can control, not a loose cannon destroying everything in his path." Drew, who had blackmailed his way through Port Charles, targeting everyone from Portia Robinson to his own nephew Danny Morgan, never saw Ronnie as a threat. That miscalculation nearly cost him his life. The shooting took place at Drew's residence, where he believed he was safe. Ronnie entered through an unlocked door, a detail she had carefully noted during previous visits, and shot him twice in the back as he looked at a photo of Willow Tate, the woman he claimed to love. The elegance of Ronnie's plan lay in its simplicity. By framing the shooting within the context of Drew's many feuds, she ensured that investigators would focus on his known enemies rather than the newcomer who had befriended him. Tracy's investigation, following Monica's legacy. Tracy Quartermaine has never been one to back down from a fight, and the battle to expose Ronnie has become her most important mission. From the moment Ronnie arrived in Port Charles, Tracy sensed something was wrong. Her years of experience with corporate espionage, family betrayals, and Port Charles intrigue had honed her instincts to a razor's edge. "I know a predator when I see one," Tracy declared to her family. And Ronnie Bard is a predator of the worst kind. She hides behind the mask of family while destroying everything Monica built. Tracy's investigation began with small inconsistencies, gaps in Ronnie's background story, unexplained phone calls, and mysterious meetings with individuals who had no apparent connection to the Quartermain family or ELQ business. But as Tracy dug deeper, she uncovered something far more sinister, evidence of Ronnie's connections to a sophisticated criminal organization that operates in the shadows of legitimate business. "These people don't play by the rules we know," Tracy confided to Ned. "They're not like the Cassadines or even the Jerome family. They're corporate criminals with international reach. And Ronnie is their agent in Port Charles." One particularly damning piece of evidence came from Tracy's investigation into Monica's medical records. With the help of Portia Robinson, Tracy obtained samples that suggested the presence of a rare poison, one that would require both medical knowledge and connections to black market pharmaceutical suppliers to obtain. "Tracy, you need to be careful," Portia warned. "If Ronnie is connected to the kind of organization you're describing, coming after her could put you in serious danger." Tracy's response was characteristically defiant. "Let her try. I've survived worse than Ronnie Bard. The organization, a shadowy threat to Port Charles." The most chilling aspect of this unfolding nightmare is the revelation that Ronnie is not acting alone. Intelligence gathered by Anna Devane and the WSB suggests that Ronnie is connected to an international criminal syndicate that specializes in corporate takeovers, money laundering, and strategic assassinations. The organization identifies cities with concentrated wealth and power, then places operatives like Ronnie in positions where they can gradually take control of key assets. Port Charles, with its hospital, pharmaceutical companies, shipping operations, and the Quartermain ELQ empire, represents an ideal target. Ronnie's plan was methodical: inherit the Quartermain mansion and fortune, eliminate obstacles like Drew who could complicate matters, and gradually position herself as an indispensable figure in Port Charles society. "We've been tracking this organization for years," Anna explained to Jason Morgan and Sonny Corinthos. "They operate like a virus, quietly infiltrating a community, establishing legitimacy, then systematically taking control of power structures. Ronnie isn't just a criminal. She's a corporate soldier." The organization's typical pattern involves years of patient groundwork. Operatives like Ronnie build relationships, gain trust, and wait for the perfect moment to strike. Monica's declining health and eventual death provided that moment. With the Quartermain matriarch gone and the family in disarray, Ronnie saw her opportunity to accelerate the plan. Sonny, who has dealt with organized crime his entire life, recognized the threat immediately. "This is different from what I know," he admitted. "These people operate in boardrooms and through lawyers. They're more dangerous than street gangs because they hide behind legitimacy." The trap: Ronnie moves against Tracy. Tracy's investigation did not go unnoticed. As she drew closer to the truth about Monica's death and Drew's shooting, Ronnie began to see the Quartermain matriarch as a problem that needed to be solved. The organization behind Ronnie doesn't tolerate loose ends, and Tracy's relentless pursuit of justice threatened to expose their entire Port Charles operation. "Tracy Quartermain is a formidable opponent," Ronnie reported to her handlers. "She's intelligent, well-connected, and motivated by genuine love for her family. She won't stop until she exposes me." The response from the organization was swift and unambiguous: neutralize the threat. Ronnie's plan to eliminate Tracy involved the same careful preparation that characterized her other crimes. Rather than a direct confrontation, which would immediately point to Ronnie as the culprit, the organization planned to frame Tracy for a crime she didn't commit, perhaps embezzlement from ELQ or another scandal that would destroy her credibility before any revelations about Ronnie could be taken seriously. "They're going to make me look like a desperate woman manufacturing conspiracy theories to cover my own crimes," Tracy realized as she pieced together the evidence. "By the time the truth comes out, no one will believe me." Ned pleaded with his mother to go to the authorities, but Tracy refused. "The authorities are already compromised. Ronnie has been building relationships with the PCPD, the mayor's office, and hospital administration for months. She's laying groundwork to discredit anything I say." The race against time. As Tracy's investigation reached its critical phase, she found unlikely allies in her quest for justice. Jason Morgan, who had always respected Monica despite their complicated family history, offered his unique skills in investigation and protection. Michael Corinthos, despite his complicated relationship with his grandmother, recognized the threat Ronnie posed to everything the Quartermains had built. "We protect family," Michael told Tracy firmly. "Whatever our differences, we're Quartermains. And Ronnie is trying to destroy what Monica spent her life building." Even Martin Gray, Drew's attorney who had been manipulated into helping Ronnie acquire the mansion, began to have second thoughts when he realized the full scope of her plans. I thought I was settling a simple estate matter, Martin confessed. I didn't understand I was helping a criminal organization take over Port Charles. The evidence Tracy compiled painted a devastating picture: financial records showing suspicious payments to Ronnie from offshore accounts, testimony from hospital staff about Ronnie's unusual interest in Monica's medical care, and most damning of all, security footage from the night of Drew's shooting that placed Ronnie near his residence at the time of the attack. She wore a disguise, Tracy explained, pointing to the grainy footage. But that's her walk, her build, her mannerisms. I'd know them anywhere because I've been watching her since she arrived. Jordan Ashford reviewed the evidence with growing alarm. This is solid, Tracy. But it's also dangerous. If Ronnie realizes how much you know. She already knows, Tracy interrupted. That's why I'm moving quickly. Once this information goes public, she'll either run or try to silence me permanently. The confrontation. The climactic confrontation between Tracy and Ronnie took place at the Quartermaine mansion, the house that Monica loved and Ronnie had stolen through deceit and murder. Tracy arranged the meeting under the pretense of negotiating a settlement, but her real goal was to confront Ronnie with the evidence and record her reaction. You killed my sister, Tracy said, her voice steady despite the rage burning in her eyes. You poisoned Monica slowly, painfully, while pretending to care about her. And then you shot Drew to cover your tracks. For a moment, Ronnie's mask slipped, and Tracy saw the cold calculation behind her eyes. Monica was weak. She let sentiment cloud her judgment, especially where this family was concerned. Port Charles needs strong leadership, not emotional nostalgia. And you think you're that leader? Tracy's laugh was bitter. You're nothing but a pawn for criminals who hide behind corporate structures. You're not powerful, Ronnie. You're a tool. The words struck home. Ronnie's face hardened, and Tracy knew she had pushed too far. You should have stayed out of this, Tracy. I respected your intelligence, your strength. I thought you might even see the wisdom in what I'm building. But you're just like Monica, too attached to the past to embrace the future. The future you're offering is built on murder and lies, Tracy shot back. And I will spend every resource I have, call in every favor, and fight until my last breath to make sure you pay for what you've done. The larger threat. Even as Tracy moved to expose Ronnie, the larger question loomed: what about the organization behind her? Ronnie was merely one operative. The syndicate had resources, connections, and other agents potentially already embedded in Port Charles institutions. Anna Devane coordinated with federal authorities to investigate the organization's reach. This goes beyond Port Charles, she warned. We've identified similar patterns in a dozen other cities. Ronnie's organization has been operating for years, accumulating wealth and power through incremental takeovers that fly under the radar. The implications were staggering. If Ronnie succeeded in Port Charles, the organization would control one of the region's most important medical facilities, a major pharmaceutical company in ELQ, and the Quartermaine fortune, assets worth billions of dollars. That money would fund further expansion, more operatives, more cities falling under their control. We can't just stop Ronnie, Sonny realized. We have to dismantle the entire network, or they'll just send someone else. Jason agreed. And next time, they'll be smarter. They'll know what we're looking for. Justice or revenge? As the evidence against Ronnie mounted and her arrest appeared imminent, questions emerged about what justice would look like in this case. Ronnie's crimes, if proven, carried severe penalties, including potential capital murder charges for Monica's death. But would a trial expose the entire organization, or would Ronnie's handlers ensure she never made it to court? They'll kill her before they let her talk, Jason predicted. Organizations like this don't leave loose ends. Tracy faced her own moral dilemma. Part of her wanted Ronnie to face a public trial, to be exposed for the monster she was and punished under the full weight of the law. But another part, the part that had loved Monica deeply and mourned her every day, wanted more personal retribution. I want her to suffer, Tracy admitted to Lucy Coe in a moment of vulnerability. I want her to feel even a fraction of the pain she's caused this family. Is that wrong? Lucy, who had known Monica for decades, understood. It's human, Tracy. But Monica wouldn't want you to destroy yourself seeking revenge. She'd want you to protect the family and the legacy she built. That's the real justice, making sure Ronnie's plan fails completely. The resolution. The resolution of Ronnie's crimes came swiftly once Tracy's evidence became public. The PCPD, led by Jordan Ashford, executed a warrant for Ronnie's arrest on multiple charges including first-degree murder, attempted murder, fraud, and conspiracy. As officers surrounded the Quartermaine mansion, Ronnie made a desperate call to her handlers in the organization. I need extraction, she demanded. The operation is compromised. But the organization had already made its decision. Ronnie was a liability, and liabilities were eliminated. The voice on the other end was cold and final: "You're on your own." Trapped and abandoned, Ronnie faced a choice: surrender and face prosecution, or attempt to flee and become a fugitive. In the end, her arrogance made the decision for her. She believed she could still talk her way out, manipulate the system, and find a way to escape justice. "You think you've won," Ronnie told Tracy as officers led her away in handcuffs. "But this is bigger than me. The organization will send others. Port Charles will fall eventually." Tracy's response was ice cold: "Let them come. We'll be ready. And unlike you, we fight for something more than power. We fight for family, for community, for the memory of people like Monica who actually built things instead of destroying them. You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, Ronnie. And every day, you'll know that you failed." The aftermath: healing and vigilance. In the weeks following Ronnie's arrest, Port Charles began the difficult process of healing. Drew Kane, who survived the shooting thanks to quick medical intervention, faced his own reckoning with the community. His actions, while not excusing attempted murder, had created the chaos that allowed someone like Ronnie to operate undetected. "I was so focused on my own ambitions that I didn't see the real threat," Drew admitted to Willow. "I was the villain in so many people's lives, and it blinded everyone to an even greater danger." The Quartermain family worked to reclaim their home and their legacy. Through legal maneuvering and the revelation of Ronnie's crimes, Monica's original will was validated, and the mansion returned to family control. Tracy, exhausted but victorious, stood in the foyer and made a solemn promise to her late sister. "I kept my word, Monica," she whispered. "I protected what you built. I made sure that woman paid for what she did to you. Rest now, knowing your family is safe." But the threat wasn't entirely over. The organization behind Ronnie remained operational, with dozens of operatives in cities across the country. Anna Devane continued to coordinate with federal authorities, building a case against the syndicate's leadership. It would be a long fight, potentially taking years, but Port Charles had proven that these criminals could be stopped. "We exposed Ronnie because Tracy refused to give up," Jordan noted during a community meeting. "That's the lesson here. These organizations count on us being too busy, too distracted, or too afraid to fight back. But when communities stand together, when families like the Quartermains refuse to be victimized, we can win." Looking forward, a community changed. The Ronnie Bard scandal fundamentally changed Port Charles. The community that had weathered mob wars, international espionage, and countless personal dramas found itself facing a new kind of threat, one that wore a business suit and hid behind legitimate institutions. The experience taught valuable lessons about vigilance, about trusting instincts when something seems wrong, and about the importance of family bonds in times of crisis. For Tracy Quartermain, the experience was both vindicating and exhausting. She had proven her loyalty to Monica's memory, protected the family, and exposed a dangerous criminal. But she also carried the weight of knowing how close Port Charles came to falling under the control of a ruthless organization. "Monica always said family was everything," Tracy reflected during a memorial service at the mansion. She was right. When everything else failed, when power, money, and ambition showed their true ugly faces, it was family that saved us. It was love for Monica, determination to honor her legacy, and refusal to let criminals destroy what she built that made the difference. The Quartermain mansion, once nearly lost to Ronnie's machinations, stood as a symbol of resilience. Its halls, which had witnessed generations of family drama, love, loss, and triumph, would continue to shelter the family Monica had cherished. And somewhere, perhaps, Monica herself could rest knowing that her legacy was secure and her family, for all their dysfunction, had come together when it mattered most. As for Ronnie Bard, she awaited trial in a maximum security facility, her dreams of power and control shattered. The organization that had promised her everything had abandoned her without a second thought. And Tracy's prediction proved accurate. Every day in her cell, Ronnie was forced to confront the reality that she had failed utterly in her mission to conquer Port Charles. The city itself, forever changed by this brush with corporate evil, remained vigilant. New protocols were established at the hospital, background checks became more thorough, and the community learned to look beyond surface appearances to identify potential threats. Port Charles had survived, but it bore scars that would take time to heal. And in the end, perhaps that was the most important lesson: true power doesn't come from manipulation, murder, or ruthless ambition. It comes from community, from family, from people willing to stand together against those who would destroy what they love. Monica Quartermain had understood that truth throughout her life, and her family honored her memory by living it in her absence.